I knew I should not have come back to Naperville, but Grandmother Beatrix's trembling voice from the night before kept echoing in my mind. Lilith, sweetheart, he is getting worse. So I showed up at the Mercer house, polished windows, trimmed hedges, and the same cold air I grew up breathing. My mother opened the door with a tight smile. "You actually came," Seraphine said, as if my presence were a complication she had to manage. "I came for Beatrix," I answered. Her jaw tensed. "Please do not start anything today. It is Cade's birthday. He deserves peace." "So do I," I murmured. Inside, my father's voice boomed from the kitchen. "Lilith, good of you to make time for the family." That word family felt like a bruise pressed too hard. Cade came down the stairs last, stretching like a king waking from comfortable sleep. "Look who crawled back home," he said softly, smiling at Seraphine as though I could not hear. "I am standing right here," I replied. "Yes," he said, stepping closer, "and somehow you are still ruining the mood." The familiar shift in the room happened instantly. Seraphine bristling, Theodore glaring at me, Cade playing innocent. I steadied my breathing. I am here. That is enough. If you have ever walked into a room where you were loved and hated at the same time, you will understand what came next. And if stories like mine resonate with you, stay with me. I promise I will tell this one honestly. By noon, the house buzzed with polite laughter and the kind of compliments people save for families they secretly envy. Seraphine drifted among the guests, reminding everyone that Cade was such a blessing, her voice a rehearsed melody. I arranged a platter of fruit in the kitchen when Cade slipped beside me, close enough that I felt his breath on my cheek. "Still pretending you belong here," he murmured. I kept slicing strawberries. "I came because Grandmother asked." He smirked. "She worries too much. You should not encourage her." The words came out before I could stop them. "She worries because she sees you." His smile vanished. A quiet, dangerous look replaced it. "Careful. Lilith, today is my day." Theodore entered just in time to catch Cade's wounded expression. "What did you say to your brother?" he demanded. "Nothing," I replied. Cade cut in smoothly. "She does not like when attention is not on her." Seraphine appeared behind Theodore, already siding with the version that made her life easier. "Lilith, please, do not make this difficult." I set the knife down. "I am not the one making it difficult." A neighbor greeted Cade loudly from the living room, interrupting the tension. He switched instantly back into charm, waving and laughing as if he had not just cornered me. Ivy Monroe arrived then, slipping through the back door. Her eyes met mine, sharp and knowing. "You holding up," she whispered. "Trying," I said. "Then stay near me," she replied. I do not trust that look in his eyes. Neither did I. And I had good reason not to. When Seraphine announced it was time for the cake, she turned to me with that brittle smile. "Lilith, be useful and bring it up from the basement." Cade's eyebrows lifted amused, expectant. Ivy touched my arm lightly. "You sure you want to go down there alone?" "I will be fine," I said, though my stomach tightened. The basement stairway felt narrower than I remembered. I found the blue frosted cake in the refrigerator, steadied it on a platter, and began climbing back up, step by slow step. I was 3 steps from the top when I felt Cade behind me. He whispered, almost gently, "You never know how fast things break." Before I could turn, his hands shoved the center of my back hard. The world tilted. The platter flew. My body snapped against each wooden step. I heard something inside me crack on the 7th one. By the time I hit the concrete, I could not tell what belonged to me anymore. Voices echoed above, but they sounded far away. I tried to move my legs. Nothing. Cade's voice floated down first. She fell. I tried to catch her. Theodore's boots thudded on the top step. "Lilith, enough drama." I opened my mouth, but only air came out. Ivy pushed past them. "Call an ambulance," she shouted. "Now! She cannot move." Her voice was the last thing I held onto before the darkness closed in. The voices above me blurred until a sharper one cut through the noise. "I am Bria O'Malley, paramedic." Everyone stepped back. Her hands were steady on my shoulders. "Lilith, can you feel me touching your legs? I cannot," I whispered. Cade leaned forward. "She is in shock. She does this." Bria's eyes narrowed. "No. Shock does not erase reflexes." She dragged a fingernail along the bottom of my foot. "Nothing." "Nothing," I breathed. Theodore folded his arms. "We do not need an ambulance." She slipped. Bria stood, planting herself between him and me. "Your daughter shows signs of spinal trauma. She is not being moved without a board, and she is not being dismissed." Detective Raven Jensen stepped into the doorway then, badge clipped to her belt, her expression unreadable. Paramedics called for police presence. "What happened here?" Cade answered first. "It was an accident." Raven's gaze flicked to him. Then to me. "Lilith, do you want to tell me something different?" My throat tightened. Cade was watching me too calmly. Bria knelt again and lowered her voice. "If you are afraid of them, squeeze my hand." I squeezed until my knuckles ached. Raven caught the gesture. "Understood. Separate the family. I will speak with her alone." As they lifted me onto the backboard, Seraphine called after them, "This is unnecessary." But for the first time in my life, someone disagreed. The fluorescent lights in the trauma bay hummed as Nurse Sydney Groves checked my vitals. She kept glancing at my legs, then at the old bruises on my arms. "Lilith," she said softly. "Have these injuries been documented?" Before I shook my head. They were accidents. Sydney didn't look convinced, but she didn't push. "Dr. Strickland is reviewing your scans now." A moment later, Dr. Naomi Strickland entered, silver hair pulled back, eyes sharp and focused. She pulled a stool beside my bed. "Lilith, I am going to speak plainly," she said. "Your MRI shows a burst fracture of the second lumbar vertebra and swelling around the spinal cord." My mouth went dry. "Will I walk again?" "We do not know yet," she replied gently, "but we need to operate within the next few hours." Seraphine burst in before I could answer. "Surgery? Is that really necessary?" Lilith feels pain more intensely than most. She might be overreacting. Naomi's expression didn't shift, but the air did. "Your daughter is not overreacting. She has a serious spinal injury." Theodore stepped forward. "She fell. Nothing more," Sydney muttered. "Falls do not create this pattern." Naomi folded her hands. "Lilith, the scans also show previous fractures. Old ones. Multiple." My voice cracked. He pushed me. Cade pushed me. Seraphine gasped like I had struck her. Theodore's jaw tightened. Naomi nodded once. "Thank you for telling us. We will take it from here." And just like that, the truth finally left my lips and refused to go back in. Detective Raven returned to my room an hour later, a small recorder in her hand. "Lilith, before we begin, I spoke with the paramedics and the medical team. Your injuries are not consistent with a simple fall." My fingers twisted in the blanket. I told the truth. "I believe you," Raven said, "but I need the whole story." The words clawed up before I could stop them. It was not the first time. Raven nodded once, as if she had been expecting that. "Then start where you can." I opened my mouth, but another voice cut in from the doorway. "I will start," Grandmother Beatrix said. Seraphine's sharp whisper followed her in. "Mother, please do not." Beatrix raised a trembling hand. "Enough. Seraphine." I stayed silent for too many years. Raven stepped aside to let her approach my bed. Beatrix's eyes shone with something heavy grief, shame, and a truth that had waited too long. When Cade was 7, she began. I found drawings he hid in my purse. Children with crossed-out eyes, animals with broken limbs. I told Theodore. He said boys were imaginative. Theodore exhaled sharply from the hall. "Mother, you are misremembering." "No," she snapped. "I remember every moment. I remember Lilith locked in the garden shed for hours when she was 11. I remember Cade pushing her into the deep end of my pool. She screamed she could not breathe," Seraphine whispered. We thought she exaggerated. Beatrix turned to her. "You thought whatever let you sleep at night." Raven leaned forward. "Mrs. Hemlock, do you have documentation?" Beatrix reached into her bag and pulled out a faded envelope. "Notes from teachers, reports you never read. I kept them because one day I feared we would need them." She placed it in Raven's hand, then looked at me. "I should have protected you," she whispered. For the first time, her words felt like truth, not comfort, but truth that finally had somewhere to land. Physical therapy began 3 weeks after surgery, and every session felt like dragging my body through fire. Amber, my therapist, kept her voice steady. "Lilith, give me one more try. Just one more. I cannot feel anything," I whispered. "You will. Not all at once. But you will." Some days I believed her. Most days I pretended. One afternoon, Ivy arrived holding her phone like it was contaminated. "Your father is talking to neighbors," she said. "He is saying you blamed Cade because you cannot handle responsibility." My chest tightened. "Of course he is. That is not all." She added, "He hired Marcus Vale." Even Amber paused at that name. Vale was known in Illinois for reshaping reality until juries forgot what they had seen. Later that week, Detective Raven met me after therapy. "We need to prepare for the possibility that your family will try to discredit you," she said. "Your father contacted 3 former teachers. He wants them to say you were emotionally unstable as a child." I laughed a short, ugly sound. "So they are doing it again?" Raven leaned closer. Then we pushed back harder. "The evidence is stronger than they think." That evening, Amber helped me stand between the parallel bars. "Lift your right foot," she said. It did not move at first. Then, barely, it twitched. Amber gasped. Ivy clapped a hand over her mouth. I stared down, breath shaking. It was small, but it was mine, and it meant I was not done fighting. 14 months after the fall, I walked into the DuPage County Courthouse on forearm crutches. Every step felt deliberate, claimed. Ivy walked beside me, and behind her, Grandmother Beatrix. Ahead of us sat Cade in a navy suit, hair neatly parted, expression pure innocence. He smiled at the jury like they were old friends. Ada Lauren Ashby leaned close. "Remember, answer plainly. Precision is your power." The defense began by framing Cade as a misunderstood boy. Marcus Vale's voice dripped with practiced sympathy. "Ladies and gentlemen, this was a tragic accident between siblings. Lilith Mercer, burdened by stress and past emotional struggles, misinterpreted a stumble as an attack. I felt Ivy stiffen beside me. When it was my turn, I faced the courtroom. Cade followed me down the stairs. He whispered, "You never know how fast things break." Then he shoved me. Vale rose immediately. "Ms. Mercer, is it possible you slipped you were carrying a heavy cake? Were you not?" "No." I felt his hands on my back. Vale paced, tapping a pen. "You have sought therapy in the past, correct?" Lauren objected. But the seed had been planted. Vale smiled like a man rearranging the truth into something profitable. Then Lauren played the video. Cade, at a friend's house months earlier. Laughing, I made her eat the floor again. "She cries so easily." The courtroom froze. Cade's jaw clenched, eyes darting. He snapped. It was a joke. Lauren stepped forward. A joke about injuring your sister multiple times. Cade glared at me. You always wanted to ruin my life. The jury took in the venom in his voice. Then came the testimony no one expected. Seraphine approached the stand trembling, refusing to meet Theodore's eyes. I saw Cade push her down the porch steps when she was 12. She whispered. I saw him lock her in the shed. I told myself she exaggerated. I chose the son who made me feel needed instead of the daughter who needed protection. Cade's face drained of color. The jury watched a family crumble in real time. When Seraphine stepped down, she finally looked at me. Really looked. I am sorry, she said. And for the first time, I believed she meant it. The jury returned after only 4 hours, their expressions already telling me what their words soon confirmed. Guilty on all counts. Cade stared straight ahead, jaw tight. The charm finally stripped away. Theodore surged to his feet, but the bailiff blocked him. Seraphine sank into her chair, covering her mouth with both hands. Judge Harmon continued. The defendant will remain in a secured juvenile facility until age 21, with mandatory psychological treatment. Cade shot me a look cold, calculating, the same look he used to give before he hurt me. But this time, Raven Jensen stepped between us, her presence deliberate, protective. Outside the courtroom, Seraphine approached slowly. Lilith, I know sorry is not enough. It is not, I said. But it is something. She nodded, accepting the limit. Beatrix wrapped her arm through mine. You walked into that courtroom, Lilith, on your own strength. I steadied myself on my crutches. I am still learning how to walk away. And this time, no one stood in my path. 18 months after the verdict, I unlocked the front door of the old Victorian home Beatrix left me, now called Hemlock House. The sign on the porch read, "A place to breathe again." I still walked with a slight limp, leaning on a polished wooden cane, but each step felt earned. Ivy stood beside me, carrying a box of intake forms. You ready for your first client? As ready as someone who rebuilt herself, I said. A timid knock broke the quiet. A girl no older than 16 stood on the steps, a small duffel bag clutched to her chest. They told me no one would believe me, she whispered. I stepped aside. I believe you. Come in. Her shoulders dropped. Just slightly, the first exhale of someone who had been holding her breath for far too long. Inside. I guided her toward the sitting room. Here, you tell your story at your pace. No one interrupts, and no one rewrites your truth. She nodded, tears trembling at the edges. As she crossed the threshold, I felt something settle inside me, not closure, but direction. If anyone listening has lived through something similar, I said softly, your story matters. Share it. Speak it. Someone will hear you. Hemlock House had opened its doors, and so had I.